You are listening to the Lawyer Stories podcast with host Benny Gold. Lawyer Stories was founded in July 2017 and is an expanding global network of lawyers and law students sharing their personal journeys to the noble profession of the practice of law. Join us on this podcast as we dig deeper into these stories and hear from lawyers and law students from around the world in all areas of the legal profession. Here at Lawyer Stories, we believe that every lawyer has a story. What's yours?
Welcome to the Lawyer Stories podcast with Benny Gold. Today we welcome in Julie Oktanyan, founder and lead trial attorney at Julie Law, workers' comp and accident lawyer in Pasadena, California, serving all of Los Angeles, passionate about advocating for injured workers. Julie O, how are you?
Good. Thank you, Ben. Thank you for having me.
Good. So glad to have you here. Thanks for coming on the show.
Thank you.
Yeah, you have quite the story. And I just want to say before we get started, I love your Instagram. Like, it really caught my eye. Like, it's awesome. You do amazing videos. You drop like really good content, and I really like it. Totally caught my eye. So I'm glad we're having this opportunity to discuss your lawyer story.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
For sure. So just a brief background, like, were you where were you born and raised? I'm gonna guess California, but I'll let you tell us.
No, actually,
Okay.
I was born in Yerevan, Armenia.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. Yes, I came to the United States at 4 years old with my parents and my little sister at the time, who's my middle sister. We had a third sister here in the United States when I was 10 years old.
Really? That's amazing.
Yeah.
So do you remember anything about that move? I know you were like 4, but is there anything that you were told about it, or like what your parents were going through, or?
Oh my gosh. I don't remember anything, to be
Okay.
honest,
Fair.
but I was told by my mom especially that I missed it very much. And apparently I would stand by the window and cry
Really?
in America, asking to go back to my land, my country. And, I guess there was a fountain or a monument there that I loved playing in so much. So my mom would say
Wow.
I would literally be like longing for it for months after when we first came. I have no memory of this.
Wow. Well, I mean, that's a lot for me to ask. 4 years old. I mean, maybe you
Yeah.
could get like a little statue of the monument or whatever. So that's maybe like put it in your office or something. But anyway, so
Yeah.
the only reason I kind of guessed California, because I know you went to like UCLA and then you went to law school out in California. Like, what was that all like? Like growing up or you were in California from 4 years old on? Is that correct?
Yes. So we
Okay.
settled into Hollywood initially, and then we moved into North Hollywood with my family when I was around maybe 10 years old. Growing up was very challenging. I think I've shared this once before, but English was not something we spoke in our home. My parents didn't speak it. Nobody we came into the United States with was in any capacity proficient in English. So I recall being in ESL up until like third grade and not doing well in school at all. I was a poor student, really struggled with it. And around fourth grade, I had a incredible teacher that took me under her wing. I recall learning vocabulary and grammar the way it was meant to be. I fell in love with reading and writing, and then excelled from there, turned into a straight A student. By the time I was in 8th grade, I was valedictorian of my 8th grade class. Then I was
Wow.
valedictorian of my high school class
Wow.
at Cleveland Magnet High, and
That's
got in with
amazing.
a partial presidential scholarship to USC. I initially went to USC for 2 years as a
Okay.
bio major,
Wow.
and then transferred to UCLA. Yeah.
That is very impressive. Valedictorian.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy how my love for English and writing developed from there, in an exponential way. And I really do love freelance writing. I'm a spiritual writer too, kind of as a
Really?
hobby. Yeah.
Would I be able to read some of that? Would you ever send me some stuff to read?
I posted a little bit of it on my private page, my private Instagram. I
Oh,
was
okay.
public at some point, and I
Okay.
started working on a book too. And, then it just kind of felt like, okay, I need to put the book on pause for a little bit and really develop my new chapter in law going solo. So I kind of backburned the idea for a little bit, but I'm going to get back to it.
I'm just curious, like, what were your parents when you moved over at 4? Like, what were your parents doing? Like, what was the big reason? I know, like, maybe I don't even want to guess because I got it wrong where you were from. So, do you
Yeah.
remember, like, what they were doing in California?
It was just to give us kids a better life.
Wow.
I mean,
Okay.
at that time, it was still very much under that communist type of regime where I don't think they felt very free to, feel what they want, do what they want, believe what they want. So they were young. My mom had me at 20. So
Right.
my parents were super young when we came to the United States. My mom studied as a teacher. My dad was an engineer, but they started really from like the bottom up in the United States, like
Yeah.
truly hardcore immigrant, family that worked so hard, two jobs at the same time to raise their kids, and they put all their money and energy on education. The
That's
first thing my
incredible.
parents did was put us into a private Catholic school as
Okay.
soon as they could afford something, just to give us more of a structured school with God involved, faith involved, because they were so fearful, right? I mean, they're immigrant,
Yeah.
people
Yeah.
they don't know the language, they don't know their community, and they felt that if they put us in a religious school, we may have that support, and that backing that we need to feel protected. Their only mission was to protect us once they brought us here to America. It
Right.
was
And
like,
give you a better
educate them
life.
and protect them.
Yeah,
Yeah.
give you a better life. And that's incredible how you had a teacher that sort of took you under your wing and
Yeah.
you just flourished from then. I mean, they must have been so
Yeah.
like slapping each other five. We did the right thing. That's amazing.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I'm
So,
I'm even shocked at how far I came along when I think back at how much I suffered through in school,
yeah,
growing up.
it is an incredible thing to look back on our journeys and see how far we've
Mm.
come. So when in your life did you have a moment where you were like, I'm going to go to law school? I'm going to be a lawyer?
No, believe it or not.
Okay, all right.
I really thought, okay, I have to take that back for a minute. So when you are the product of an immigrant family who comes from absolutely nothing to the United States, your parents only know two professions in the United States that make it: doctors and lawyers.
Right.
So in my head, that's all that existed. It was I'm either going to become a doctor or, worst case scenario, I've got law to fall back on. And I literally follow that program to the T. I was an
Right.
extremely good child and a very good student growing up. So I did what my parents said for me to do. If they said you're going to become a doctor and be very successful, I believed it and I was on that path. The
Right.
only
Right.
thing that went wrong is once I actually got into college and started taking those pre-med courses, I realized how much I absolutely hate organic chemistry.
Ugh.
I couldn't wrap my brain around it. I got my first D at USC in one of those classes, and I was like, okay, it's done. Like, there's no going back from here. Like, I'm
Yeah.
not going to get into med school. And so I recall going to my parents and saying, Mom, Dad, I'm not going to become a doctor. Like, I can't handle this. It's just not for me. But the funny thing was that all along that journey, I was also in like an honors English program at USC. I was in their
Right.
thematic honors program where I was like reading, writing, and busting out these essays overnight, like in the blink of an eye, and getting A's on everything.
Right.
So then in that moment, I was like, I think God's trying to tell me something here.
Right.
Like, why am
Interesting.
I struggling so hard to become a doctor when I'm a gifted writer and
Right.
thinker? Like, why don't I just go to law school? Maybe that is where I was meant to be.
Right.
And so I literally switched majors to psych just so that I don't lose all my units. I did love psych though. I was like, oh my God, this is so good because
Yeah.
it was all human behavior and study of like the human mind and spirit. So I was like, oh my
Sure.
God, I feel so home with psych. And I was like, okay, I'm going to try for law school. I think I want to become an advocate because I'm better yelling and screaming and talking this thing out than I'm better with my mouth than I am with my hands, like operating on
Yeah,
something.
yeah.
I'm not going to
That's
do that so
incredible. I
well.
mean, that must have felt so good to be like, wow, like I found this thing that just feels right, like with the psychology, and you just kind of
Yeah.
you were like, okay, I'm a talented writer and I could do this for a living and just like
Yeah,
put it into a different profession,
absolutely.
right? Yeah,
Absolutely. I thought, what better combination than psych, bio, and writing all wrapped up in a lawyer, like
for
injury
sure.
lawyer, here I come.
For
And so that's
sure.
kind of what happened.
Did you have a mentor when you were going through law school at all?
No,
No
no,
mentor.
I was
Okay.
honestly navigating it completely alone, and it
What
was
was the
very scary.
Okay,
Yeah.
so that was my next question. Like, what was your law school experience like? You were at was it Southwest?
Southwestern Law School.
Yeah,
Yes.
Southwestern. Okay.
Yes.
So what was your law school experience like? I mean, I have to imagine going to UCLA, you transferred over to UCLA. It was kind of a different vibe, like a big place.
Yeah,
You guys are the Bruins, right?
absolutely.
Like go Bruins. Is that okay? So
Yes, Bruins.
and then
Yeah.
you go to Southwestern Law School, and it's they teach you differently there. What was
Yeah.
that experience like for you?
Very different than what I expected. Back then we didn't even have Google in the capacity we have now. We couldn't
Right.
really look up anything or
No.
even read or see other people's stories on social media. Nothing existed. You were really operating in a vacuum. And unless you personally knew someone to guide you or speak to you about it, you were just, swimming through it on your own blindly. And I felt like that was more of my experience. I think by third year, I caught on to what was happening and I started amdering a lot of the tort related classes I had.
Okay.
I knew I was really good in some things. Contract properties, for the life of me, I couldn't grasp. It was not my thing.
Did you say
So I just
Andering? Did you say Andering?
amdering, like getting the highest grade in the class.
Amdering. Okay,
Yes.
gotcha.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah.
Amdering. Yeah, I know. It's like old
No, that was that was
lingo.
like the Cali Award when we were
Yeah.
got you. No, that makes sense. So you third year
Yeah.
you sort of caught on a little bit to for
Yeah,
the
but
whole
all
thing.
that case law we had to study. I mean, nobody told us case law is you're going to be sitting there and reviewing case law, and that's where all your rules and applications are coming out of.
Common law,
Like,
right? Common law.
right. Like you're
So
just
well,
not told anything until you start that first day of class.
but
Because
it couldn't be
this is
bad
20 years
enough.
ago.
It couldn't be as bad like it was doing biology and having to tell your parents like you're going a different route, right? So you
Yeah.
obviously stuck with it. So like what
Yes.
made you really pursue it?
I'll tell you what, moot
Yes.
court or mock trial. I was on the
Okay.
mock trial team,
Good.
loved it. Those were the moments I felt like a lawyer. I was like,
Okay.
all this hell is worth it if I could just put on a suit and stand in front of somebody and just advocate, like that passion and that fire you feel when you are given the chance to speak your mind and what you're feeling and just beautifully put it together in a story that is going to help someone else.
Yeah.
You're just like, oh my gosh, that felt like the moment in me where I knew that I had been, placed in the right spot and law was my destiny. I was supposed to become a lawyer instead.
That's amazing. And you talk about going through the cases and everything. I think my law school class was like the last class that actually had to go through the stacks because I think they were then they were
Yeah.
then they could go online and like use all that stuff. But I think like
Yes.
I don't know if they do that anymore. I don't know if they have to
I
have
don't either.
books and they have to hold them and
Yeah.
then they have to find like the little inserts that are update the law. I don't think it's like that anymore,
Yes. Yes. I
right?
remember. Yeah.
Yeah. So um like what was your, let me ask you this. What advice can you provide to a young attorney?
Young attorney, as in fresh out of school or
Sure.
young, fresh out of school? Honestly, the best advice I could give them is work on the defense side of whatever practice you've chosen to go into. Definitely try to pick a niche, pick something that, inspires you, that you really want to grow your skill set in. I don't believe you can be kind of a master of all trades. I really think you should just really
Okay.
tunnel it down to one area that you love and that you can do well and become an expert in it, become that authority in it. Otherwise, I think coming straight out of school and trying to hang your own shingle is a mistake. There's got to be some experience that you acquire, just even learning how to market for the business, seeing how your partners did it, seeing how they run that business, run that office, how much staff do they have to support that type of business.
Right.
Those are all the things I was looking for when I started working straight out of law school at another firm.
Actually, that was my next question. What was your first job out of law school?
Yeah, I took a defense job with a
Defense. Okay.
civil firm. It was a personal injury, but on the transportation defense side. Funny
Okay.
thing is, I had an interview, I recall this, with a work comp defense firm and a personal injury defense firm. And because my belief at that time was that workers' comp attorneys are not as respected as personal injury attorneys, you're not seen in the same way. You're like second class attorney, maybe if you're doing work comp. That's kind of the vibe that we had even then. I rejected the offer to start in a work comp firm and went with the PI,
Wow.
which is insane because I came full circle and
Yeah.
now I only practice primarily workers comp. and I'm doing
Right.
everything I can to really grow that specialty, and that's
Yeah.
all I really feel the passion to do. But imagine if I started in the right place at the right time. I didn't start there because I let my mind and my own misconception of the industry shape what I believed in because I was young and impressionable. As a young attorney, you don't even know what you're looking for. You're just
Right.
following, the consensus, the trend, like whatever they're saying, you're going with it. And I'm like, knock, knock, I wish I just knew better. I
You know,
wish
I think you
somebody,
gotta, take a step back and just be like really kind of
Mhm,
I don't know if I want to say like proud of yourself, but I bet there
mhm.
were all these kids at like UCLA who
Yeah.
knew exactly what they were going to do because they probably had a lot of lawyers in their family, and they probably, I'm
Mhm.
going to go ahead and guess, like they had a lot of mentors. It could have been like, who
Yeah.
knows, but you really worked your way through it, and we're going to get
Yeah.
into like what you're doing now. But at first I want to ask you, just in 2012, I believe you started, or 2011, right? Like you launched
Mhm.
a firm with your
Yes.
sister, and
Yes.
you worked together for like 10 years. So like what was
Yes.
that experience like, and what kind of cases were you taking? You obviously got some great experience.
Yes, yes. Oh my gosh. It was amazing, to be honest. I can't say anything about it. It was like our baby, our first firm.
Sure.
And I was the older sister, we have 10 years between us. So
Wow.
she had come out of law school just recently and had started working with an employment practice. And my background was all personal injury. So I think we both kind of felt the need to explore and get out on our own because it's just hard being an associate. You don't have the opportunities given to you. You're working really hard behind the scenes on those cases, but you don't get to speak. You don't really get to go to court as much. You're just kind of there helping the
Right.
partners out. So I came from a different experience right off the bat, to be honest. I immediately after working a little bit ended up having my 3 children, all in goodness. I had
Yeah.
my daughter, then I had twins, boy and a girl, exactly 2 years
Nice.
later. So I had 3 babies, all under 2 years old, all at the same time.
Woo-wee.
And my 1 year off, to raise my
Yep.
firstborn turned into almost 5 years off.
Right.
I became a stay-home mom for
Okay.
5 years. It
Okay.
didn't work. And that period of time really shaped me to the point where I went back to my old firm and left within like 3 months. And I
So
said to
did it shape
myself,
you because you wanted the flexibility in your life to be work with your sister and be able to like kind of tailor your life around your kids?
I in the way it shaped me was in the sense of I can't really work for anyone else. I need to be my own boss.
Yeah.
I need to make sure my children are taken care of as
Right.
well as my career. And no boss or firm was going to allow the type of time I needed to myself to do everything that I wanted. So me, starting my own firm, honestly, I didn't have the courage to do it by myself at that time, and I asked my sister to join in and if we
Okay.
can go together in this partnership because I felt just so much better knowing I had some support and I had someone who I loved was my own family
Right.
who also was, eager to experience law in that same way. So the combination worked beautifully at the time because I was already with my kids and had them and had gone through the struggles of that and had put them in school. And she was newly married and still very much, in the spirit of building her career and wasn't looking to have children yet. So we offset each other beautifully.
Nice. It's nice.
Yeah, yeah. And we were able to do employment and PI initially. Then
Okay.
we fell into work comp, actually. All these
Okay.
cases came in
Right.
that, were injuries and employment related, but they were work comp. And then we kept referring them out for a while until we finally decided, you know what, this is worth taking a look at because
Right.
we're giving away so much business. What if we learned it? How hard can it be? It's a combination between the two practice areas. We've
Yeah.
got two minds on it. Let's just give it a shot, And I remember we brought in another friend who was of counsel with us for a while,
Okay.
who also helped build the practice area. And then within the 10 years we were together, we had almost become a fully, functional, full, work comp firm.
Wow. So when
That's
did you
all we
know?
were doing.
Go. I'm sorry. Say it
I
again.
was saying that's all we were doing
Workers' comp.
yeah,
So when
yeah.
did you know that it was time to launch Julio firm?
COVID. COVID
Okay.
really, really
Okay.
was the time. COVID really changed a lot of
Okay.
things. I want to say for myself, it felt like I, if I'm going to be really honest, felt a moment during COVID where even law didn't feel enough for me. I felt like I wasn't doing what I was supposed to in this practice area.
Okay.
Running the business has its own challenges, very much so, as you know. And it seemed to me like, as being the head partner, the older sister, I had gotten so wrapped up in making sure that we're marketing and the business is heading in the right direction and we're not losing cases or we're not economically in trouble because we just got hit with COVID. And in that process, it just felt to me like I had lost my passion, my love for it. I saw my practice as just a business. And it
Okay.
was very hard for me to, after COVID, continue on. And I almost gave it up altogether. Like, I
Really?
was ready to walk out. And I was like, I'm just going to write. I'm going to
Yeah.
fulfill my dream to be a writer. I'm going to write this book
Wow.
and I'm going to
I
stay
really have to
home.
read some of this writing. I'm so like,
Yeah, no,
I'm so,
crazy. Absolutely. Well, for a crazy moment, I actually thought I was going to give up law and just become a writer. And then I literally made a full 180 again when I was just about to do that and realized, am I out of my mind? Like,
yeah,
I did this for almost 20 years. I worked so hard for this degree. I raised
right,
my children through it. Like, what on earth is making me think that I'm about to mute this forever in my life,
right.
when all I want to do is just speak up more and do the right thing by these people I represent. So it
Yeah.
felt to me like I was on a solo journey at that point. Even if I tried to make my sister understand or join in on that, it would have been very difficult because what I was feeling within me felt like it was only for me, the message. And it was
Okay.
something in my life in that moment I needed to fulfill. So I felt like it was time for me to just tell my sister, like, I really think I want to go on my own. I want to slow down the pace of what I'm doing business wise, but really amplify the voice that I've been choking on all these years. I really want the freedom to speak finally. Speak, do videos, get on social
So did
media.
you not have any of that? Like to be able
No,
to do,
believe it or not.
how come, was it
No,
something that
it
you had in an agreement, like a
it
partnership
was
agreement?
really hard. Like, we just didn't, really pay attention to it as much then. It was much harder to, and it would have required both of us to be invested in the same way. So we were just very different styles. Like, if you ever met my sister, she's definitely more composed and like put together and quiet. And I'm like the loud one, I'm the aggressive one. I'm kind of in your face and I'll just say whatever comes. And I'm not afraid to kind of go at it from that, bold and big angles. So I felt like it was a discrepancy in our personality styles too.
Okay.
I didn't want to take on that face for our partnership, because I
Got you.
wanted to make
Okay.
sure that she was okay with it.
Got
And
you.
that, she wouldn't be upset if I said something that might have come across too daring or, too bold or loud for the
Okay.
firm. So
I got you.
yeah,
But
it
you're the
was
older
just kind of
sister.
hard to represent.
You're the older sister. You're supposed to like say what you say goes, right? No,
I
I'm just
know,
kidding.
I know.
I'm just kidding.
Well,
So,
yeah.
give us some advice for somebody who wants to launch their own law firm.
Somebody wants to launch their own law firm. I would say, honestly, the law aside, you absolutely need to know how to market yourself.
Okay.
Marketing is number one. You need to know how to run that business and financially secure it and be able to create that pipeline and make sure that you have enough coming through so that you can sustain yourself. Be ready to experience feast and famine. I mean, there's going to be times when those settlements roll in and you're doing amazing and you think you're on the top of the world. And
Right.
then there's a lull, COVID hits and we go through a year of no cases coming in, literally, because people are not working.
Right.
And all of our cases existing with doctor appointments on them, where our clients must go to these doctor appointments so we can
Right.
process them through. They've all shut down. There's no doctor appointments until telemedicine came through, thank
Right.
God, and they were able to do it
Finally.
that way.
Finally.
So
Yeah.
imagine what that would put a business through if you hit
Right.
a crisis like that and you're an injury-based firm and all your doctors are shut down, your clients can't go anywhere. we're sitting on those cases. If you can't anticipate a catastrophe like that in your business, you're going to lose the business. Things
Wow,
are going
it's
to start
such
to come
yeah,
around.
it's a risk, but like people do it, it's great. And you did it
Yeah.
right after you got through like that wave of COVID, and then you were just like,
Yeah.
I think a lot of people had a
Yeah.
lot of time to think over COVID,
Yeah.
when it was really shut down about like their life and what they want to do, and that's
Absolutely.
really interesting. I think like that's
Yeah.
yeah, I think that's I would say it might be a common thing. Like a lot of people who are very is the word inflecto? Is that a word? A lot of people who have a
Mhm.
lot of inflection and I think are really
Yeah.
deep people think about like had a lot of time to think.
Yes.
So that's a very
Absolutely.
interesting
And,
thing they went
Ben, it's the structure of it, right? Like you come out of COVID and you realize you don't really need a brick and mortar. I mean, we had a huge 2,500
right,
square foot office up on
right,
like the ninth floor. We were doing amazing and we had a lot more space than we needed. Now you're realizing I don't need an office. I just need a little office for myself to work in. I can
yep,
set up shop anywhere. And most of my staff is remote. So, I mean, we changed completely the way we do business. Our depots are all on Zoom. Our client appointments are all on Zoom.
amazing,
I rarely have a client that actually wants to come in and meet in person
yep,
anymore. Everything is through digital,
yeah,
face screens like this. So, why pay all that money to run a business when now you can reshuffle that money into marketing and do all the things you dreamt of doing
right.
that you couldn't put the money in before because you were too busy paying the rent and all the support staff that had to physically be sitting in your presence to get the job done.
Yeah, no,
So it's
that's
completely changed.
yeah, no, it's
Mhm.
amazing. So like how has being like you have a nice like premier like boutique firm and it's
Yeah.
very client focused like you want it to be like
Yes. Yes.
how does that help in this industry that you're in?
I think it helps a lot. A lot of our cases that we substitute in, right? They come to us and ask us if we would be the second attorney on it, sometimes even the third, although,
Wow,
gosh,
okay.
third in line is quite difficult to take and turn that, ship around and do justice to that case. But they're all coming from these big mill style firms, workers' comp firms, where a lot of the times they will say they've never met their attorney. They go to trial and they've never met their attorney. They don't know who is present at those depositions or going to those hearings with
Wow.
them. Some of them don't hear from their firm for months. They don't even know if they have the case still. Is it open or not? They do not get any communication from the
Wow.
office.
That's terrible.
So, this is the typical work comp firm and what's buzzing in people's minds, when they think work comp. And
Can you just like really briefly like
Mhm,
tell because I'm a where I work my full-time job. I'm a
mhm,
I'm a boss, right? So like, can you just
mhm.
tell us, like, I think it's complicated. I think workers' comp is complicated. Like, it's not
It
just
is.
sick time. It's like being injured on the job. Can you just
Oh,
like, in
yeah.
your own words, like just define? I know it's a very, it's
Mhm.
sort of a, I don't want to say easy, but it's a simple sort of thing for you maybe. But can you just like in your own words, tell us what workers' comp entails?
Yeah, I mean, basically, right? If you're an employee, you're working for your company and you get hurt on the job, meaning
Yep.
it should arise out of or be within the scope of your duties involving work. You get hurt, the first choice of insurance that you have to elect against is your own workers' comp that your employer offers you. You unfortunately can't really go to your own private, insurance or your own doctor. You can for treatment's sake, but because that's the insurance of choice that they're paying premiums for, they want you to go there because it's a work related injury. The law is
Right.
set up to protect you and provide you with medical treatment and benefits in case it happens on the job. So typically, when an injury takes place, they're supposed to go to their human resource or their employer and ask for that claim form so they can fill it out and start the process. They
Right.
submit it, the insurance then issues a claim number and tells you which doctor to go to. They can control that first appointment most of the time.
Good.
So, in theory, it's a beautiful system. You've got people that could be working for you that can't afford their own health care, right? They can't afford insurance, for example. So, what are they going to do? They get hurt. It's on you as the employer to provide them with that assistance. You're the one making sure that they have that medical insurance that they need to heal, recover, and get back to work. That's the idea around it. It's a beautiful concept, and it was created in such a way that the employer now is also safeguarded. Because imagine if every time there's an injury in your shop or in your place of employment, that employee has a right to sue you technically for negligence under a normal civil case otherwise.
Are there any, like, this is sort of bar examish, but are there any situations that you encounter where you're trying to determine whether or not the employee was within the scope of what their job, rather than like outside of the scope? Are there any
Absolutely.
gray areas that you've had to deal with, like in the fact pattern?
It's not that there are gray areas in the fact pattern, but the insurance will always bring that up. And one
Okay,
of the elements we need to show is that it did arise out of and in the course and scope of employment. So
gotcha.
sometimes it's used as a defense.
Right,
They will say that they have information either from other coworkers, whether it's in gossip or testimony or hearsay. None of those apply, right? If all it takes is one other coworker to say, no, she told me that she pulled her back lifting weights in her garage on Sunday.
right. Okay,
That back injury is not because of work. That's all it takes for the employer to be like, nope, deny. We
okay,
have an issue as to we call it AOE COA, rising out of in the course of employment. So we have
right.
an issue as to whether it was actually caused by employment related duties versus at home somewhere else. So
Interesting.
then that's an issue that needs to get taken up before the case proceeds.
So you
Sometimes
must
go to
So you
trial
deal
to
with a
stop
lot of
that.
witnesses and a lot of that sort of thing, like maybe taking like statements and depots and
Yes.
okay,
Yeah. Usually the insurance on their side will conduct an investigation and speak to a lot of the employees involved and coworkers to see what is being said, what was witnessed itself during the accident. And we do the same on our side. We make sure that we have the name and information of everybody that may have seen it or have any information regarding it so we can list them on our pretrial
okay.
conference
Do
statements.
you
Yeah.
see any like catastrophic injury, or is it more like just somebody like breaking their, which is still kind of like really bad, like breaking like their leg or their arm or their, in the on the
Sure,
job?
sure. I mean, they're all along the spectrum. Me personally, I haven't handled anything very catastrophic. I have a good dozen brain injury cases at the moment that
Wow.
are more invisible, mild cognitive impairment.
Hmm.
So, and those are still in process. Some have been going on for 5 years now, going into their sixth year. So those files need a lot of special care and close handling, and they don't resolve that quickly. So the case stays open and can take a very long time until we get to a place where we feel that patient has reached kind of maximum improvement and there's no more that could be done for them medically. At that point, we will finalize all those reports and see if we can even come to an agreement as to what the permanent disability for that patient should be and what the future medical care plan looks like.
Okay, so what is like the heart of the cases that you're taking? I know it's obviously workers' comp, but like within the workers' comp, like what kind of cases are you really taking on?
Yes, yes. I do general workers' comp. I do. I can handle all of them. But in my heart of hearts, what I love to see more of is the major orthopedic injuries. I do love the
Mm,
fractured cases. I love the psych stress related cases that infringe a little bit on TBI related matters, or there's a really traumatic orthopedic injury. But a lot of it is a combination. So, many specialties are involved. The catastrophe cases are never just one body part. It's
right.
usually multiple systems and body parts are
So
involved.
see, this is
So,
so interesting. Like you're going back to like almost being a doctor
yeah,
with all this
yeah,
stuff, right? So it all kind of
absolutely.
it came full circle for Julio, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. We're reading medical records all day
yeah,
long
all the
and we're
time.
talking to doctors all day long.
Well,
So,
is it true? Like, and I know this. I don't know, like, if this question is good or bad. You could totally not answer it. But will doctors sometimes write like what the patient wants them to write in order to get them back into the workplace? Like, say they have a restriction for like you can only lift 15 pounds. If the injured person's like, hey, I need to like be able to lift 30 pounds to get back into my job. I mean, will the doctor sometimes just do that? Like, how does that work?
no, it's not that the doctor, I've yet to see a doctor
Okay.
in workers' comp who will actually do what the patient wants,
All
the
right.
injured worker wants. Usually our doctors are doing what the insurance wants.
Okay.
So they
All right.
are more listening
Okay.
to that side of the story and they will write things in there that are actually not right. They're not true. They will not loosen the restrictions just so that this person can return to work. They will remove all the restrictions and just return them to work when they actually need to be on restrictions and can't return to work. So
Okay.
it's actually quite the opposite.
Gotcha. All right.
We are bending our backs trying to figure out a way to get these doctors to be more fair and more neutral, like they're supposed to be, and not
Right.
more favorable to the defense.
Gotcha. So one of your firm's motto is like treating your clients like family,
Mhm.
right? So tell us a little bit about that.
Yes, we came up with that motto when my little sister and I started our firm. That was one of our things, was that we are a sister family firm and we treat everybody like family. And we really do. I mean, it was just the way in which we approached our clients. We made sure that we knew them by name, by, who they really were, got to know them on a spirit level, on a human level. We didn't see them as just a combination of body parts and a file number that walked into our office.
Mm,
We had a real relationship with them. They would text us on our cell phone if they needed us. They were able to reach us by email on the weekends.
that's great.
My sister and I never felt good about putting off phone calls. God
Yeah.
forbid we made them wait too long. Like 24 hours, we were already having that conversation with them and had their case straightened out. So we were so personable that at
Love
the
that.
end of it, they always felt like they loved us being sisters, and they felt like they were being received by a family when they
Yeah.
came to our
Yeah.
firm.
No, I love that because you're
Mhm.
really it's and you really take pride in knowing how important your job is. I could tell because
Yeah.
you have people who really want to get back to work, right? And
Mhm.
they're
Mhm.
injured and like you really have their liveliness in your hands. And so,
Absolutely.
you're working to get
Yeah.
them sort of like restoring them back to their life, right?
Yes.
So, and we also hear that some of these places, I think you mentioned, like they don't even know like the people who are like going to trial at like the bigger firms and whatnot. So I think like being a small,
Mhm.
like smaller boutique shop that really is known for taking care of your clients and having a motto, treating them like family. I don't know who wouldn't want to come to Julio for
Yeah.
some help, right?
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I can honestly say our results were always 3, 4 times higher because we really did
Okay,
care about them, and the defense knew how strongly we were advocating for them
great,
and knew them on a, face and name basis. It just changes the entire climate. So if there's any message I would love to leave with people listening to this,
please,
don't just think because they're a big firm and they have workers' comp plastered everywhere that they're going to do your case justice, because unless they return your calls and know you by name, they're not that invested. You're another file and they could have 1,000 files.
right,
Whereas a boutique firm is truly handling every part of that case on their own. Like, you get your attorney calling you back. You get to talk to me anytime you want to. I'm not going to be like on a schedule where it's 6 weeks later. You get to finally ask me one little question that was going to help you sleep better and get through your days
right,
better until this
right,
case moved forward. So it's a lot of it is just having mercy, having compassion for these people. Like,
right.
they're hurt, they're suffering. There's nothing you could be doing that is so important that you cannot reach out to your client in 24 hours and just ask them, how are you? What is going on? How can I help you?
Yeah, no, I think that's
It's as
great.
simple as that.
I love that. I think that
Yeah.
that's how all attorneys should act.
Hmm.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
So I know you just gave us a nice piece of advice. Do we have anything else that do we cover a lot of this these items about your
Yeah.
practice and your background? Is there anything else that we missed that you would like to say? Like what does it take? Tell us again. Like what does it take to be
Mhm.
successful in your area of law in workers' comp?
In workers' comp, that's a tough question. I can't even say that I still feel like I've hit my greatest potential. I think, my potential is ever growing, and a lot of it is measurable against as how big the insurance is growing against you. Just when you think you got it figured out and you've made 5 steps forward, something changes in the way they're administering the law, or nothing's reforming the way it needs to. They're just crushing down even harder. So that was another part of the message that I was dying to let out was, the insurances are growing stronger. COVID really changed the landscape again. And just when we thought we were making movement and there was momentum and things were getting authorized and settled, everything took a big turn again after COVID, where we're seeing a lot of denials coming through. A
Right.
lot of them are unfounded. So it's just requiring us to step up, work even harder, set more hearings, chase those dollars, chase those settlements. And the unnecessary delay that we go through to get one thing authorized is really what's hurting our clients the most. I mean, they are really sitting there waiting for one MRI to get authorized, and it could be 2-3 months later until this is done. Even our hearings are 2-3
Yeah.
months out. So we can't even get action on that case until 2-3 months because we need to go to a hearing to get heard by a judge to get the
Right.
defense to do what they're supposed to do.
Right.
But if they just handle this as this is a human being who's really hurt, and that MRI can honestly set the course of that treatment like immediately, and get them better right away and return to work, we would not be even in this system. There would even be a need for attorneys. If like they did their job right, we wouldn't be even necessary in this system. But it's just getting harder and harder. And there's a lot of pushback, which is requiring us to push back even harder. So I feel we're battling more
Right.
and fighting more versus being able to communicate and come to a resolution and use our negotiation skills to acquire, the authorizations we need or the treatments and just get that case going. They rather let the case sit there and suffer stagnantly. So
Yeah.
I feel as an attorney, we're being pushed to really work 10 times harder for the same results now.
Wow.
The results are always the same. The
Yeah.
results aren't getting any better collectively. We're just working harder to get what we were able to get 2 years ago now,
Yeah.
so I really feel like attorneys are being washed out of this industry. And I say that
Wow.
in the most like sincere way because I was there. It almost got me 2 years ago where I was like, I'm throwing the towel
Right.
in.
You were
I don't want to
close.
do this anymore.
Yeah, you were close.
Then I realized how stupid that was. And I'm actually letting them win. And how the hell could I let them win?
Yeah.
And I love these people I work with.
I mean, now look at you. You have all that work on your back table over there. I can see it.
Oh my God, don't mind that. Yeah, I have to like spread everything out. There's a whole bunch on this side too, but
So,
yeah.
let me just-
And
Yeah, go ahead.
no, that's all. I was just gonna say, yeah, the work is there, Ben. The work is there.
Yeah.
It's having the heart and the stamina to go through it and
Love
not
it.
give up, not give up.
Love it. So I just want to kind of shift gears and just ask you a question, sort of. So tell me about social media. Has that helped you at all? Like with your amazing videos
Yes.
and like everything, like has that, do you feel like that's actually like
Yes.
it amplified your firm's voice?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I honestly, this is the one part of social media that I really love. In general, I'm a pretty private person. I try to keep it private. My kids are teenagers. They hate posting themselves and they hate even more when mom posts them. So I can't even share about my family if I wanted to because my kids won't let me.
Yeah.
I want to put stuff on there with me and my husband. My husband won't let me.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like they just want to be private, and I get that.
Yeah.
So when I started my campaign under Julie Ola, I was like, wait, this is one area you guys can't touch. I'm going to do whatever I want.
That's awesome.
And I was like, I'm really going to make this platform about the injured worker. Like my audience is the worker. Those videos are literally meant for the client sitting in front of me that I'm speaking to. And I go off script. I don't even have a script. I literally just talk whatever comes through my heart, in that moment.
That's awesome.
And I love it because I feel like it really did give me the confidence and my own inner strength and support to voice this and not be scared and not be afraid of whatever backlash might come or what insurances are going to think or, oh my God, did I offend someone by saying this? And I'm just like, you know what? I really don't care. It's time to be offended. If you're offended, you should be, because I've been doing this for a really long time and I'm sick and tired of it. Like, I'm going to take a stand for every workers' comp attorney out there that puts their heart, soul into this to help these poor people. And we're not even given half the spotlight we deserve, for the hard work we do. So I'm like, I'm here.
Yeah, no, that's amazing. And if you ever see anybody that we might be connected to here at Lawyer Stories, like I'd be happy to introduce you to anybody that you see if you're not already connected with them. Yeah, because I think like that, that's what we like to do. So tell us, like, what's next for Julie Law?
What's next for Julie Ola? Oh my gosh. Of course, I want to grow the business without a
Yep.
question, right? I feel like I'm starting all over again, but a lot smarter, 10 years smarter. And everything is moving at a far more exponential rate than it
Yep.
used to. So I really love that part. I'm like making strides that I've never done before with my old firm. And I think I would love to be more vocal in this way, get involved in more media, maybe become a contributing voice in any capacity I can, put together an organization of my own for these people if possible. I mean, there's so many ideas I have
Yeah. Yeah.
afloat, and get involved in more catastrophic level work.
Yeah.
I think I'm really ready and up for that challenge. And I really want to take on those cases and try them and get them to a place where I feel super proud and I can say, okay, I handle all of it. Like I really am that specialist, and
Yeah.
get my
That's awesome.
certification. I do want to become a certified specialist. So I'm planning to take the test with the bar next
Okay.
year when it's finally due. It's
Okay.
finally up and coming.
For
They
workers' comp,
give it.
certified specialist, is that what?
Yeah,
Right.
yeah, yeah.
Wow.
You can actually become a certified specialist. So
Another exam. Wow.
I know. But you know what? I feel like it's par for the course. If I really want to make that stand and brand myself in this way, then that exam is something that's going to give me that confidence. And I feel like I should take it just for the sake of
Yeah.
having it,
Why not?
you
So
know.
it's great. That's terrific. So, is there
Mhm.
anything else that we left out
No,
that you
I
could
think
share?
we did good. We
Good, good.
covered a
And
lot.
you know,
Yeah.
I just have to say, Julie Oktanyan, like I look forward to seeing your journey continue, your story
Thank
continue, because it's just the beginning for you. You're going to continue to do great things and help those injured workers
you.
get back on their feet and get back to work.
Thank you.
And thanks for being here. I had a lot of fun. Stay right there.
Thank
And wherever you are in the world today, everybody, enjoy yourselves. Cheers.